The struggle of a first-year medical student is real, and in my last video, I talked about a few things I wish I knew that would have made my transition so much easier. While I was editing that video, I realized that there were many things I actually hadn't touched on, so I decided to continue in this video. Hopefully, you've watched the last video, you've started implementing the things that I talked about, and you're finding them helpful. So let's start with this for today. Put step 1 aside. For anyone who isn't familiar with this, you will be taking 2 board exams while you're in medical school. You take step 1 right after your second year, and you take step 2 after your third year. Step 1 is a pass or fail exam, but for step 2, you actually get a score. You can still fail step 1, so you want to study for it, but the temptation is to start studying right now. Within the first few months of medical school, mind you, we were barely even used to being medical students. There was already chatter about studying for step 1. How do you study for step 1? What materials do you use? What resources do you use? You don't need to worry about that right now, and I will tell you why. First of all, building a strong foundation is what's actually going to help you succeed on step 1. The materials on step 1 are essentially the things that you are learning now. So if you learn the material that you're being taught in your lectures properly, when it comes time to study for step 1, you will already have a good understanding of everything. Secondly, if your medical school is anything like mine, which I assume it is, you have to have passed all your in-house exams and classes before you can even sit for step 1. So if you don't do well on your in-house exams, that might be a red flag for your school, and then they might put roadblocks in the way that will stop you from sitting for step 1 in the first place. So you want to do well on the material that is in front of you right now. There are a few materials that you can use to double dip, so you can use to study for in-house exams and also use for step 1. But even if you're going to use them, I would say use them to study for your in-house courses specifically. Thinking about step 1, an exam that's probably 18 months away for most of you, is pretty pointless right now. I find that with board exams, which I will talk about in a later video, the big thing is strategy. You may know the material, but the strategy for taking the exam is very different. That strategy is not going to be helpful to you right now. So right now, my biggest advice is that you just learn how to be a medical student. Learn what materials work for you. Learn what study style works for you. Build a routine. Get comfortable with the amount of work you have to do. And then we can venture out into other things. My next piece of advice is that you don't need to join every single club and do every single activity that's offered to you. You are allowed to be choosy. In my medical school, a very popular activity was the free clinic run by students and residents. I went a few times because I did want to contribute to it, but that wasn't really what I wanted to do. Previously, I'd volunteered in food pantries, and I do have a passion for food insecurity. So what I started doing, which I really enjoyed, was working at our local food bank. There weren't many, if any, other medical students doing this, but it's what I enjoyed, so that's what I did. When you do start volunteering or joining clubs, it's okay to be choosy. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to have something for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's all right to have 2 things that you're committed to per week and go from there. If as you grow as a medical student and get more comfortable in your new role, you're able to take on more responsibility, perfect. But it's okay to start off the first few months with only 1 or 2 extra things on your plate. This also applies to research. I believe I spoke about this in a different video, but you want to do research on something that you actually care about. You don't have to write 16 research papers every single semester. Now, I will say that things are very different now than when I was a medical student. A lot of us didn't come in with research papers or publications, but my understanding is that now even the first years sometimes have publications, sometimes have a lot of research under their belts. If that's something that you are very passionate about, absolutely, you can do it. But do not feel pressured to get into research in your first semester of medical school. I will keep harping on this. You are still learning how to be a medical student. The workload is no joke. The learning curve is no joke. So if you need a few months to build your momentum, that is perfectly fine. Okay, I've gone on and on about the things that you should not do in your first year. How about something that you can do? That is, find mentors, people to guide you, advise you, people whose experiences you can learn from. I will put this plainly, you cannot figure things out on your own. And the truth is, even if you could, why should you? If there are people who can help you, people who are willing to show you how to achieve a goal in an easier, shorter way, why not? I've had some people tell me that they feel guilty bothering other people for help. But the truth is, anyone who's achieved anything substantial in life had help. They had advisors, they had mentors too. So take advantage of this. If you find someone who's willing to mentor you, take advantage of it. For some people, your mentors will be your upperclassmen. So the second years, the third years, the fourth years. You don't need to limit the number of mentors you have. And in my opinion, ideally, you should have different mentors. For example, you can have an upperclassman that you go to when you need help. That could be a second year, a third year, a fourth year. You can have a resident who's in the field that you're thinking about going into. And that way they can guide you as to what research or volunteering or clinical shadowing that you should start getting under your belt and when you should start getting it under your belt. You can also have faculty mentors, and these are attendings who are in the field that you know you want to go into or a field that you're just thinking about. Additionally, mentors don't have to be forever. When I first started medical school, my mentors were OBGYNs because that's what I thought I wanted to do. And then I started thinking about surgery, so I also got mentors in surgery. Then I finally decided on anesthesiology, and I then found mentors in the field. In some cases, they found me, and I can also talk about that in a different video. The bottom line is, having mentors, having people to guide you is extremely important. So if you do nothing else in your first semester, get some mentors, connect with people, start building your network. If you're able to do that, then actually going into the subsequent semesters, you have people that you can speak to who can guide you on what to and to not do. Something else I wish I knew was that you don't have to know what specialty you want to do when you first start medical school. You should also be open-minded. Even if you think you know what you want to do, explore different things, speak to people, meet attendings, shadow people. I went through my first 2 years of medical school completely sure that I wanted to do OBGYN. I wanted to work with women, I wanted to contribute to maternal health. I didn't want to hear anything else about any other specialty. Funny enough, I did not want to hear anything about anesthesiology. I thought it was boring. All they do is put people to sleep. Considering how gung-ho I was, it's hilarious that anesthesiology is exactly what I'm doing now. I will not say don't think about it, you have time. Yes, you have time, you don't have to decide right now, but start thinking about it. Once you get into the groove of things, you're starting to know how to study, what resources to use. If you have free time, for example, you have lectures for only half the day, you can reach out to an attending and ask if you can shadow them. Shadowing does not have to be a huge commitment. You can shadow for 2 hours in a week, 4 hours per week, 6 hours per week, however long you want really. The most important thing is that you're exploring different specialties. Make sure you also shadow in different settings. If you're interested in surgery, for example, make sure you shadow in the operating room, but you also shadow in the office, for example, because surgeons are not always in the operating room. Sometimes they're in the ICU, sometimes they're in the office. So you want to know the different aspects that go into a specialty before you choose it. As I said though, we are exploring in the first semester. We don't necessarily have to know what we want, but we do want to explore and we do want to keep our minds open because you never know what you will like and you also never know what you will absolutely dislike or even hate. Last but not least, enjoy this. Enjoy being a medical student. Take the time to realize that there was a time that this was all you prayed for. All you could think about was getting into medical school. There was a time when all your effort went into this, not just the exams that you took or the schooling that you did, but the extracurriculars that you did, the praying that you did, the fasting that you did, whatever effort you put into it. Just remember that there was a time this was a dream and you are now living in it. Yes, medical school is hard. We've talked about that. Yes, you will suffer. We've talked about that. Yes, you might cry. We've talked about that. But you should also be very proud of yourself. It will be very sad if the entire time all you do is complain. It's very tempting to become a Debbie Downer once you're a medical student, but this is what you worked for. You are living in your testimony. You are living in your miracle. You are living in answered prayers. Take a moment to enjoy that. When it gets to that point where you've just had enough and you're not feeling anything and this is just overwhelming, ask yourself, what is the alternative? Would you rather you didn't get into medical school? Would you rather you chose the other career that you were miserable in? What's the alternative? This is what you wanted, so enjoy it. Be proud of yourself. If there are any other tips that I remember, I will put them in the comment section. And if there are any tips that you know that have worked for you, or any advice that you've been given that's helpful, please put it in the comment section. I'm sure everybody will find it very helpful. I really do hope that you have a wonderful transition to medicine. I hope you're surrounded by people who are loving and caring, enjoy what they do, and are there to enjoy medicine with you. As someone who's been in your shoes, I can say for a fact that, yes, some days sucked, but I can't imagine doing anything else. And again, I'm a career changer, so I did do something else before doing this. And I can confidently say that I'm really happy that I chose this. So even though first year may suck, you will get through and it will be great. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your classmates, and I will see you next time.